I hope you're hungry because you're listening to Everybody Eats.
Welcome back. Hello. Welcome back to another episode of the Everybody Eats podcast. It's your host, Bensky Belazaire. We have our co-host, Eden Ekpe, on the phone. And we are with a really special guest, Mr. Chris Harrison. Thank you, man. Thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate, hosting us today.
Man, I appreciate having me on, man.
For sure. So, for all our followers, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Everybody Eats podcast on YouTube, at Everybody_Eats podcast on Instagram. Mr.
Facebook, Family Springs LLC, and Family Springs on Instagram.
All right.
Yeah.
There we go. All right, so let's get into today's episode. So, Chris, I actually met you through Mr. Carl Hale, who was one of our guests on the podcast. So that's where it shows that networking, networking and building relationships, it definitely helps. So I know if you guys saw the episode with Carl Hale, he has ginger lemonade, and he's partnered with Family Springs. So that's how I saw the bottles, and so he introduced me to Chris. So then I reached out to Chris.
Right.
Through a series of events, we ended up at the pop-up, the Black Brand pop-up.
Right.
And it's been great knowing you so far.
Yeah.
So you can introduce what you do, your company, what you do, and then we'll start talking from there.
Okay. Family Springs, natural artesian alkaline water. What we do is we pick up natural spring water from a spring out in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia, where we have it bottled there on site, and we distribute it into our local communities in the Hampton Roads area, the Maryland, D.C. area, and we're now in the Trenton, New Jersey area as well.
Okay, so you spread out.
Yeah, absolutely. Mainly the three places I spent most of my time at too.
Okay, so, it's convenient. For sure. So how did you even start? How did this even come about? Because when we spoke earlier, I said I didn't really know. I only know one other person who kind of got into the water bottling business, but I didn't know too much about how do you even get involved in that, and like what inspired you to get involved.
Right. So I actually had my cousin in the D.C. area, Maryland area. He gave me a bottle of water. There was another gentleman in that area that was actually selling them. And I had tried the water, and I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, like, I've never had anything this good. And, living in, economically challenged areas as far, even throughout the military as a low-ranking, individual in the military, you still can only live where the means are equal, right? So, you shop at those local stores, and, you don't get that opportunity. You're used to thinking that all water's the same. Well, when I had the chance to experience something else different outside of that, it opened my eyes to saying, okay, well, not all water's the same, and it's all priced different.
Yeah.
Well, what is the benefits of having this water, and why is this priced so high? So when I started to look into it, I started to realize that, okay, there's only a select type of water being sold in certain areas, and in suburban type of communities. That's where the water is being sold at, where it's basically higher price, higher quality, and we're not getting offered that same opportunity. So I definitely wanted to make sure that I was able to bring those type of resources into our community as well, because I feel like, we spend our money on so much other things, man, but, we're not educated on the hydration portion and understanding that, quality is something that, our life actually depends on, right? So, we talk about food deserts and so forth like that. Well, hydration is a large part of that, and, as I started to really kind of do my research on what alkaline water was and how acidic other types of water was, it's basically drying our body out in every which way that you can, conceivably imagine, right? So, I definitely wanted to start making sure that my people actually had that opportunity. So that's basically where I kind of got into, calling up there and making sure to see if I can come up there and start getting bottled water, and, just kind of roll from there.
Yeah, I was about to ask, my next question was going to be, how did you start that process? Did you know someone already who did it, or like did you just like Google how did you learn how to start?
I just blindly feel my way through it. I actually tried to partner with the gentleman that was selling the water that I was getting it from. But he had a different method to what he wanted to do, and I couldn't afford to actually buy into what he was asking for. So eventually I had to, because I like to collaborate. That's my whole thing anyway. I feel like, it's easier to collaborate with someone than to just starting something new. A lot of times we constantly start things new, and I'd rather have done it that way, but because one person has a different vision, then you have to kind of create your own.
Yeah.
So that's I just basically looked at the bottle, and all water bottles, no matter what you get as far as water or food, you can always find out the place where it's distributed from and where it comes from.
Yeah.
So you just look on the bottle and then you just call the place. So that's what I did. I called the place, and I'm proud to actually tell everybody, because everybody should know where the source of their water, because your body is largely made up of it. So it's important to know what it is that you're consuming.
Yeah,
right?
Definitely.
So that's what I did. I called up to the company and talked numbers, and I started off a little bit at a time, and a U-Haul trailer with my GMC truck, what I mean, and it was just hauling in my poor truck, she's got so much mileage, like 200 and something thousand miles on it, and she's still going, but the shocks have busted, because water is it's not light,
it's heavy,
it's very heavy, so, after a while I was able to move up to, taking U-Haul trucks, and then those got a little expensive. Now we on the Ryder trucks now. And so it's a gradually growing process, but there's no school to say, hey, this is how you want to get into the bottled water industry. You have to figure your way out. So you spend a lot of money, you lose a lot, and you just have to kind of, feel your way out blindly through the whole process. Really,
So again, my next question was going to be, what are some of the biggest challenges that you face in this industry? Whether is it literally getting the water, is it advertising, marketing, distributing, getting people to buy? Because I would imagine some people say water is water, why should I buy yours?
Right, all the above. Right? So it actually, because it's capital. At the end of the day, if you don't have the funds to basically buy at a bulk price, you're not able to buy down the price.
Yeah.
And that's one of my main things where I like to basically do collaborations with a lot of us, man, because we're constantly, even when you're in the t-shirt business, no matter what business that you're in, food, restaurant, you have to buy a certain amount of product so you can actually get a price, what's called a price break. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So big time companies, they have price breaks.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to meet that, then you have to charge X amount of dollars more so you can actually kind of build up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
we definitely go through that with Kilty Styles. Even I go through that
really?
Just when it comes to the clothes.
Right.
In order to get certain prices, you have to buy certain quantity, but it comes with when you're starting off, it's not the easiest thing to do to be able to buy so much and things like that. So you can see it goes that's something that a lot of industries face.
Right. And sometimes from the outside looking in, sometimes as a consumer you don't really realize, and all you like, oh, why is these prices so high?
Yeah.
Well, the prices are high because you're not able to either, and that's one of the reasons why I actually got into it as well, because a lot of small businesses aren't able to buy the amount of like a Fiji or those higher echelon type of waters because they don't have the ability to stock in those small spaces.
Yeah.
Right. So then they can, that minimizes on the amount of return that they can get. So why even bother to go through it? So those are other issues that I found out that was basically plaguing our communities on why we weren't able to get that. So I definitely wanted to make sure that we was able to kind of circumvent those different types of issues that was bothering us, why we couldn't get good quality water in our area.
All right, so definitely I definitely see what you're saying. So what besides that, what would you say are the most rewarding parts of this? Because I know I can feel the passion. I know you're really big about health, and so what would you say is the most rewarding part of having Family Springs?
Seeing the kids.
Yeah.
When I go into the schools like Booker T, high school, into our communities, and I see the kids that drink the water, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, the water tastes like this," and they're literally shocked because they haven't experienced it.
Yeah. And
to bring that, that opportunity for them to actually see something and taste something different outside of what they're usually, and it floors me every single time, and that's where one of those things that gave me the confidence to leave my full-time job, because you know, when the kids love it, and I have, you know, plenty of customers and family and friends where, you know, their kids are like, I want Family Springs water, and that's all they want to drink is that water.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, and I get it from the parents, and it's like, I remember growing up, and it was like, nah, you don't want no water, you want the Kool-Aid, you want juice, you know what I mean? But no, the kids actually want water because it tastes like something.
Yeah.
So like that's my, and every time, you know, every single time I see the experiences on people's face, I mean, that's the greatest pleasure for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely, definitely. Edom, do you have any questions?
No, I'm actually just like at this point.
Okay, so I want to say, what are your future plans now? So consider where you're at. Mm-hmm. I know you distribute it. I know you said you do in-person deliveries, mm-hmm. right? You can purchase off the website. You have membership plans. Mm-hmm. So I guess if you could describe kind of how do people get involved? How do you distribute your product? And then what are your future plans?
Okay, so you can get involved with Family Springs by, you know, joining the family, signing up, getting a membership online. One of the things that we actually do, we take pride in our memberships, you know what I mean, because our members are the most important part, you know what I mean, and it's a part of our channel, you know, so we definitely value our members more so than, you know, acquisition of new customers per se, right? Yeah. Because that's what, you know, retention means everything to us, you know what I mean? So you can go online, familysprings.com, and we have 3 different prices that actually through the 3 years of me actually starting on and doing this business, came up with 3 different price points because everybody has a different value of water. So I definitely want to make sure that we cover everybody's value and that everybody's able to get it, right? Yeah. So what we did is actually, no matter what plan that you actually get a 5-gallon or a case included with your membership price. Okay. We have no fees. Yeah. We have no cancellations, no obligations, and any of that type of stuff. You know what I mean? What you get, you know, it's a monthly subscription. Yeah. And what you do is lock in at a rate. So kind of like your mortgage, where you lock in at a 30-year fixed or whatever. You know what I mean? You basically lock in at your rate every month, and that allows you to buy additional product. Additional 5 gallons of cases at the selected price. So you actually get to choose how much water you actually going to go through. You know what I mean? If you're going to go through a lot of water, if you have a business, then you might want that gold membership where you can get a 5-gallon for $15. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what we do. We do cases for $17. You know what I mean? Either with the silver membership or our gold. So we make sure that everybody's able to eat.
Everybody eats,
you know, a drink for my
everybody drinks. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Definitely. So, I was gonna say, what are your future plans for?
Right. So future plans is to make sure that our people are becoming educated on the importance of hydration and how that affects us, the chronic illness. Yeah. You know what I mean? That we kind of go through. Whether it's mental health or, you know what I mean, the problems, the aches and pains that our bodies goes through, and, you know what I mean, we're always looking to medicate something, but, you know, that doesn't solve the problem per se, because a lot of times those problems is a lack of resources through hydration, and because you're dehydrated, because you got your cells that metabolize and form acidic waste within your body, then you have the air that you're breathing that's, you know, causing acidity if you work out, you know what I mean? So your body is constantly going against acidic conditions. So if you're not constantly working out and you're not hydrating properly with the proper amount of fluids throughout the day, then you're behind the 8 ball. And then what happens is, it's kind of like, and this is how I view it, is basically like an economically challenged area that has a lack of resources, where you see cracked streets, you see abandoned buildings, broken bottles, and all those different types of, well, your body inside of it works pretty much the same exact way. When you start to deprive certain areas of your body from hydration and resources, well, it's going to start to steal those things from other areas of your body.
Oh, wow.
Right,
yeah.
So you see what I'm saying? So your cells, you basically, you know, the inside of your body is a microcosm of what society is outside. You know what I mean? And the same thing, you have to flow fluids and resources to those areas to make sure that they're hydrated and to make sure that they have the nutrients and minerals, because that's what water does. It carries nutrients and minerals to those cells, because cells need oxygen, cells need to breathe, you know what I mean, food, nutrients, you know what I mean, they have to get rid of waste, and then you have to get waste out of there, you know what I mean, so, you know what I mean, it's just kind of the same exact concept where, you know, that's what I want to do. And you talking about moving forward, I want to make sure that our water is into our economically challenged areas and those areas that are lacking in those different types of resources, so that we can actually fund our money, you know what I mean, into those areas, you know, and direct our resources into those areas.
Yeah.
Right, so
Definitely. That's powerful.
Have you ever thought about expanding, not just, you know, I guess nationally, but internationally, in places like, you know, I guess the first thing that comes to mind is like Africa or other places that have a drought struggle, or they clearly don't have the resources to have as good and rich water as your company is offering.
Right. So yeah, and you know what? That's actually funny too, because when I do talk to the kids, the first thing they like, "Yo, are you sending water to Flint, Michigan?" You know what I mean? Like, kids are actually concerned, and they ask me questions like that as well. And where I'm at now, and being a small business, I always kind of look at, you have to change the inside first. So from where my point of view is, I can't move to the outside until I start to change the dynamic of how our mindsets are in the inside of our own community before I can be able to spread out, because we're poverty stricken in our own communities and society. So how can I outreach somewhere else? It's almost kind of like selling out, and that's what a lot of, you know, businesses and companies actually do to actually get their money. They have to sell outside of their community, you know, and then if I do that, say something goes wrong in one of those areas that is funding me heavily, right? So then my obligation would be to serve them, because why? Because that's where I'm getting my money from, right? So, you know what I mean? I'm automatically, then you're like, well, why you ain't in the community? Why you ain't serving? Why you ain't doing this? Well, because my obligation has now changed. Right? So
you want to take care of your block first.
Before you can go. So like, you have to change from the inside out.
I respect that a lot.
Yeah, you have to change that, and that's, you know, knowledge of self and so forth. You have to change from the inside out to basically be able to make a difference.
Definitely.
That's definitely a long-term goal, though. You know, I definitely want to. But once I'm able to change, you know, the dynamic of what our younger kids are actually coming up, because that's going to be that next generation, maybe I'll be able to pass the torch for somebody else to basically be able to do that, you know. So, but that,
Of course. Like I definitely want to, you know, see this company. Everybody gets Poland Spring, but just it's really funny how, like, I didn't even know I didn't know we'd be recording the podcast this soon, and then it's funny how, like, on a Friday, someone was describing me the list of, like, waters that are, like, you know, good and bad, and they mentioned Poland Spring, which everyone has in their house for the most part, and they're like, Poland Spring's not really one of the best. It's like probably one of the worst waters to have, but it's so cheap that everybody really likes it. And I think
it's like a popularity thing at that point.
Yeah, I think they said like Aquafina or like Fiji water is actually better. But I'm just like, you know, definitely I want to see your company like.
I appreciate it.
Spring, we all grab some alkaline water.
Yeah, for sure. On Saturday, I have to get me a 24-pack, so it's in my room. So I've been drinking that all weekend, so definitely have to support. But I want to thank you for speaking on Family Springs. Man, I think we learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I hope, you know, the listeners learned a lot. So we're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to our next segment of the quote of the day. And Edom has that for us.
Okay, sounds good.
Right back. All right, welcome back to segment 2 of the Everybody Eats podcast. We're here with Chris Harrison. We just had a great discussion talking about his alkaline water company, Family Springs. So now we're going to go into our quote of the day that Edom has for us. So what is it?
Alright. Quote of the day is, my president is black. And my Lambo, no,
I was about to say, Black History Month inspired. That Nas quote would have been good though.
Can't go wrong.
Nah, it's not bro. My president is black and my Lambo is blue.
the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility.
Dang.
I'll repeat it one more time.
Yeah, that's good, but I definitely don't know who that is. Say it again.
Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility.
Dang.
So you supposed to name who quoted?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
I was about to say Confucius. Dang.
You should know this. No guesses?
I have no clue.
You get one hint.
Is it black, like
The person's not living.
not or now?
They are not living. They are deceased.
It's a philosopher. Is there a Greek philosopher? Because a lot of people have a lot of Greek philosophy dealing with medicine.
Not a philosopher. He is not black.
He's not black.
Yeah.
Dang, what?
They're American.
I have no clue.
Alright, so where I heard this from was on the Boondocks. Huey said it in was it Flightman in one of the episodes, so we said it at a wedding. But the real like creator of the quote is Khalil Gibran. Oh, he's not. Oh, well, he's Lebanese, so.
Lebanese. Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Khalil Gibran. It was an episode of the Boondocks. You know, I always like to go back.
I like it though.
Take a look at it a couple times.
Yeah, that definitely hit.
Yeah, it's really deep. So I'm gonna repeat it one more time. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility.
Kind of like your pain kind of helps you heal. That's what I'm getting from it.
Yeah, essentially,
I hear that drinking in there. To me, it speaks to, of course, hydration. All right. So, and it's the remedy. Like you're not gonna get past that. I mean, we birthed out of water.
Yeah.
I mean, we come from water. Whether you talk about the semen, which is water. When the water breaks.
Yeah.
Right. When the water breaks. Well, I mean, the fluid, the amniotic fluid that you're in is water. I mean, and whether you read the Quran, it talks about the coagulated water. Blood. So that's water. Your blood is water. So. No matter how you want to cut it or dissect it, man.
Your bodies are 75% water.
I could go on and on, man. I might even give you a quote too.
No, for sure. It all kind of stems back.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right, so that was a quote of the day. So now we'll take a quick break and then we'll go into our last segment. We'll talk about this beautiful painting that we have to discuss. All right, welcome back to Everybody Eats. This has been a great episode. We're here with Chris Harrison. So we just had the quote of the day, spoke about his alkaline water company, Family Springs. So for the last segment, we had to discuss this painting. So Edom already saw the painting, so you don't wonder what he can see or not. But right? Yes. But definitely in honor of Black History Month, I think this is really appropriate. And Chris had this in the house, and while we were looking, how to place this in the podcast, I said, hey, let's just throw it in the episode and let's talk about it. So, can you talk about where did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because we spoke about it a little bit before, but I think the people want to know.
Okay. So, this painting dates back probably about 20 years ago. I was in Spain. I did 2 years in the Navy. Did 8 years in the Navy, but 2 years in Spain.
Okay.
And seen an artist, man. He actually had this picture, just like it was Mount Rushmore, with Frederick, Nelson, Malcolm, and Martin in it. I was like, wow. And I was probably about, I think it was 18 at the time.
Okay.
18, 19. And I was like, yo, that'd be really dope if I add me in there on that mountain. And it's funny because it might even be kind of like an arrogant type of thing, you know what I mean? I'm 19, like I said, and I'm like, yeah, put me up there, man. I want this painting. And the guy, he did it, he was like, yeah, I can put you in there. I was like, it ain't gonna be crowded. He was like, no, I can go ahead and add you right on in there. So when he did it, I was like, yo, this is dope. So up into probably say a few years ago, my man, shout out to Razor Ron, man, my barber comes through and cut my hair. Was talking about it, and I was like, dog, I think I messed that darn picture up, man. I probably should have just left it, man, with the grapes up there, man, and just left me out of it. And he hit me with something, man, that was real, was real philosophical in the point, man, because he was like, you know what? Maybe you foreseen something, back then that you couldn't really describe at that point in time, but where you wanted to go. And, because, Lord knows I wasn't doing any type of, try to philanthropist or, black empowerment or any of those different types of things at that point in time, I was ripping and running. And, where I'm at kind of in my mindset is at today, I definitely like to be, a part of Frederick and Nelson and, all these guys, great, man, that, you definitely want to leave behind a legacy. And unfortunately, sometimes, man, when you're forward thinkers, and sadly to say, with, the deaths of, the two great legends in LA, sometimes you don't really see what people do until their death.
Unfortunately.
For forward thinkers, man, sometimes, man, the world, the society has to catch up to them when they're dead for them in order to smell the flowers.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, you definitely want to leave behind a legacy. Yeah. So, and these guys left behind one, and hopefully, the Lord has blessed me with something, man, the ability to basically be able to change the dynamic of our situation, and basically be able to do something like that as well. So, yeah, my man said that though. I thought it was kind of deep because I was just looking at it. I was like, man, I should have just left it alone. You know what I mean? But,
I think it was cool with you. So was there nothing in there?
Yeah, it was just them four.
Okay, so that space was just empty.
Well, now if you can kind of look, Martin's face kind of looks a little bit slim.
Okay.
I kind of post so like I look at it kind of in that sense but no, it was filled up.
Okay.
Pretty good, man. It wasn't like an empty space there. He just kind of inputted me in there.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But it's a legit oil painting, that he painted it in there.
No, definitely. I mean, I can see how some people could say, "Oh, that's a little arrogant," but I wouldn't believe so. I think what I would take from it is that one thing about these great people is that they weren't doing it for popularity or fame.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're doing it for a cause.
Right.
And I don't think just because they're one of the most famous doesn't make them necessarily better than anyone else. You know what I'm saying? So I would definitely say the company and your initiative is life-changing. It is already giving, it already has a legacy, right? You're already changing lives. So I would say that you already have an impact, of these people. Granted, maybe they had marches and things like that, but the point of Black History Month and Black Empowerment, point of this podcast too, is to show that everyone has a legacy. Everyone is doing something, no matter if you the most famous or if you just know them out in your community. Everyone has a legacy. Everybody is changing somebody's life the same way that they are. So I think that's really cool.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah.
The way I see it is like you probably. I mean. I think your end goal or what you want to leave behind is a legacy as powerful as those other men in that painting. Your goal is to end up like in your I'd say life or community or your playing field. You want to be just as up there as they were in their playing field. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and I think that's something a lot of us. Even currently now is trying to move towards, to change that narrative, for that next generation. You know what I mean? So, I think that's what we all supposed to be kind of really striving for, you know, whether we hit the Mount Rushmore peak of it or not, but, you know, in our own world, in our own way, you never know who you influence along the way.
Yeah.
You know, so, yeah, you know, you kind of shoot for the stars, man, and if you land on the cloud, you know, you just kind of go with it, man.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so,
Definitely. It's all about changing that, making that one impact, making that one change.
Right.
You know, so I think it's really cool. So I was saying earlier, because I know that you have the afro, I thought I couldn't tell it was you. I was like, is that Trevor Noah? Like, it really, like, it had me, especially with the Nelson Mandela. So I was like, you know, they're both South Africans. So I was like, okay, so I kind of see it. A little bit.
hey, man, you must be a really Trevor Noah.
Yeah.
It's a fan, man.
For sure. But I think it's a really cool painting. It's funny because my brother had a painting that he got. It's a Haitian painting that he got in the Dominican Republic. Okay. So he had it in his apartment, and then he gave it to my cousin. And then I was at my cousin's house the other day, and I was like, man, I need that painting for my apartment. So then I was like, can I take it? So I got it back. I put it into my apartment, and now it's like right up next to my Haitian flag. And like I'm starting to really having a good appreciation for art, especially just like, you know, just simple art pieces, having it around. So that's why I like this too, because I was like, I just got a new one in my room too.
It speaks volumes, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know, your visual presentation, man, you know, which is orientation of what you see, you know what I mean, a lot of times, man, and what you speak, you know, it resonates with you. It resonates with your body. So, you know what I mean, it gives you something to shoot for, strive for. So, yeah, absolutely. And when I have it at, man, I see it, you know, and all the times I move, it's either on the steps or it's always in that generalized location. And, you know, so you can't help but to see it.
Got it. So, Ian, any final thoughts?
No, I think we covered it beautifully.
All right, perfect. So, Chris, I want to thank you for coming on today's episode. I think this is definitely one of my favorites. Definitely. I think it's a great initiative. Definitely great conversation. I want to thank you for coming on today's episode. For everybody watching, again, how do we get in contact with Family Springs? How do they get in contact with?
FamilySprings.com. You can go in there. You can hit me on the email, info@familysprings.com. You can message me on Family Springs on Instagram or Facebook, Family Springs LLC. Definitely always try to reach back and get back, you know, in between the deliveries and trying to put out new content and information. I definitely try to stay involved with the community. So, you know, we got multiple platforms to reach me on. 888. I forget my own number sometimes. That's on the website. You know what I mean? But I rarely, never, ever give that out though. But the number is on our bottles. You know, you can always pick up our Family Springs bottles at our retailers. That's on our website as well. You know what I mean? You can go into certain restaurants and so forth, and different business establishments, and also purchase them. That's one way that we bounce our dollar. You know,
that's our collaboration.
That's a collaboration. So yeah, you don't come to me directly and order it on the website. You always can feel free to go to any one of our restaurants and locations that offer our water actually exclusively in their establishments.
All right, definitely. So you heard it. You can go reach out to him at Family Springs. Make sure you're following us on Everybody Eats on Instagram. That's at Everybody_Eats Podcast. Follow us our YouTube channel, Everybody Eats Podcast on YouTube. Make sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends, distribute this content. Man, I love doing this. Every episode gets better and better. So thank you again.
Thank y'all for y'all platform. You guys are doing a great job servicing the community, getting the word out. Definitely appreciate it. You know what I mean? You guys keep up the good work. Love it. Everybody eats, baby.
Appreciate it. Drop the mic.